It's Soul Sunday at Spirit and Soul Studio, and thank you so much for joining me today. So this is a little bit impromptu because I had recorded a Soul Sunday at the beginning of the week and there was no sound on it. So here I am at home getting scrappy and recording this right now so that you have something and you have the message that was coming through. And I always feel that whatever happens is meant to happen for a reason. So maybe what's happening here is a different story or different words were meant to come through based on however the week turned out. That's the story I'm going to go with for this. Okay. So let's dive right in. And I apologize if you hear my dog barking in the background. All right. Remember, we're getting scrappy here. Okay, so let's dive right into this Soul Sunday. I hope you're feeling amazing. I hope you're feeling good and that your life is starting to take little shifts and you're being very intentional about life. After listening to some of these Soul Sundays, maybe you're showing up a little bit differently, and then weaving in all of the classes that we do at Spirit and Soul, weaving in the podcast. And what you're doing is you're diving in. You are surrounding yourself and really just immersing yourself in this energy, in the spiritual energy, in the energy of community, and in the energy of allowing your soul to lead the way. And that's what we do. I mean, for me, everything that I do, whether it's business related, whether it's spiritual related, whatever it is, I dive right in. I surround myself with all the podcasts, all the classes, all the online courses, all the different things that really make me feel good. And I start to pull back from the things that don't. So I pulled back from TV a long time ago. Doesn't mean that I don't watch TV. Yes, you know that your girl here is binging Bridgerton when it comes out. Okay. All right. But I don't sit down in front of the TV like I used to. I sit down with intention that there's something that I want to watch, or I feel like laughing, or, I feel like watching this, whatever it might be. And I sit down with a little bit more intention rather than like channel surfing. So I no longer do that. And that's getting a little bit more intentional with what I'm surrounding myself with. Okay. So I hope that after these classes and after our classes, of course, but after these little sermons, if you will, that you're starting to choose differently. You're starting to be more aware of life around you, because that is what we're here for. That's what we're here to guide you to, so that you can create the reality that you want to see. The thing is that you're always creating your reality. And a lot of us are living in a reality that we don't really love, or there are pieces of it that we love, and then there are pieces of it that could be better. And we know that it could be better, but we can't see a way to get there without change, without a lot of effort, without resistance or fear or scarcity mindset, whatever it is that's blocking your way. We can't see the way to change it, so we just live with it. And this is something that really came through for me today, actually, as I was driving home with my husband from like the farmer's market and everything. I saw Teachers Federal Credit Union there. What is it? I guess it's their like home base, like their back office for their bank, right? And I used to work in a bank, and I worked in the back office, and I did a lot of commercial lending. That was my thing. And I remember thinking when I moved out a little bit more out east, I remember thinking on Long Island, if you're not aware of what I mean when I say out east, but I remember really feeling stuck in my job. And now I had moved out east, and I always wanted to leave, but I always said that I wasn't going to leave to do the same thing, because I didn't like doing that. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. My best friend, Dee, who also worked in the same industry, we did the same thing. Both didn't set out to do this, but both ended up doing it. And I remember her saying, like, you got to go. Like, there's so much more opportunities here. Like, you have to go try something new. And I would say to her, I don't want to do this, Dee. Like, this isn't something that I want. And so I'm not just leaving until I know what I want to do. And you know what happened? It dragged my feet forever, right? Like, I ended up being in that job for 17 years, okay? Because I was too afraid to move. I was too afraid to try, to really leave something and not know what I was doing. And I definitely was feeling lost most of those years, Okay. Was I happy in certain areas of my life? Yes. I had a wonderful, at the time that I started there, I had a wonderful boyfriend, and that was now is my husband. I, then as the years went on, I had my own family. I got married, had my own family, bought my own house, and did all of those things. And I was so happy with those things, those areas of my life. But yet there was something still off for me. There was something not right there, and I knew it, but I was too afraid to even try to figure out what that was. And I did try many times. I did try to leave many times, but for whatever reason, I stayed. And I kept coming back to it. And I know that it was fear. I know it was fear of money, to be quite honest with you, making money somewhere else, because I was making great money. I was supporting my family, right? And doing it with ease. And we were able to live a beautiful, beautiful life of vacations and have a nice home. And I was afraid to lose that for them. And I felt lost. And then I remember when we moved out east a little more, I drove past the Teachers Federal Credit Union. And it was the first time that I said to myself, because I had moved more out east, which meant my commute was longer to work. And I remember thinking, what would be really great is if I could work a little closer to home. And even if it means that I'm doing what I'm doing now, I remember thinking, this is the Gemini in me. I'm like, because I was already running a huge department for one of the biggest banks on the East Coast. And I said I could go there in a heartbeat and do what I'm doing here, there, and probably really excel, number one, and help them to excel. And I remember that was the first time that I ever had a thought outside of what I was doing, and that I could bring value somewhere else. Because every other time I thought of it, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not good enough at it. If I don't love it, I'm not going to be good at it. And it was the first time that I started to shift my mindset around my value and around like a new life, like starting to lean into something different. And I passed by that office today and I had that memory. And it feels like that moment, if I really think back to it, that moment was a catalyst for the starting to shift my life. Because shortly after that, I was really starting to think about what I could do. And I think it was honestly shortly after that where I had my altercation with my boss, and I decided that I was going to change my life. It was very shortly after that because I had Nico. So let's say if it was like maybe a year and a half after. So that started to get the ball rolling for me. And then suddenly I had that moment where I was changing my life. And I started to feel less lost, even though I felt a little like, okay, well, where am I going? What am I doing here? And I started to feel a little less lost. And I realized now that it was because I was starting to follow my soul. And that's what this Soul Sunday is about today. It is about feeling lost and why we feel lost sometimes, why we feel stuck, why we feel lost. And I know that so many of you feel lost. And maybe you feel lost in all areas of your life. Maybe you feel lost in some areas of your life. And I'm going to tell you that you're not alone there, right? Like, you are not alone there. There's many, many people that feel lost. And every so often I can feel that myself. The thing is, I know that when I feel lost, it's because I'm not following my soul. So if you think about it like this, and this is how I look at the soul has a mission when it comes here. The soul's like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to learn these lessons. You're going to bring light to the earth in these different ways. And everybody, I believe, has different ways of doing that. So you have some people that are activists, and you have some people that, spread light through, I don't know, I can't even think, through bringing pleasure into people's lives. Like maybe they're performers or singers, right? Or maybe you're bringing light to the world by doing like what I do, right? So guiding people on their spiritual journey. Maybe you're someone that literally lays grid lines into the earth. Like, and that's how you're grounding this incredible spiritual light energy into the earth. Like, there's so many different ways to bring light to this planet. It doesn't have to be on a spiritual aspect. Like, you don't have to have a job that's in the spiritual realm to bring light to earth. But here's the thing. If you start to, and we all do, okay, if we start to fall away from the thing that we were meant to do, our soul is trying to knock, and it's trying to get us to listen. And it will feel almost like, to me, it feels like sad or like down, like we're not on the right path. Like you're not listening, right? And think about how, number one, how probably frustrating that is for all of the guides, all of the spirits, all the angels. We see these memes all the time, but for your soul. And that's where that feeling of feeling lost comes from, because the soul's like, you're not listening. Like you're making decisions from your mind. You're not listening. I know the way. So follow, listen, open up your ears, and not your physical ears. Okay? Your inner ears, the ones that start to turn on and you begin to listen to the callings of your soul. Right? Rebecca Campbell talks about that a lot. Really listening with your inner ears. And once you start to open up, and I'm going to tell you, it is breadcrumbs. It's not this is the answer, do this. It's breadcrumbs. It's cookie crumbs that you start to pick up along the way. Okay? And you start to say, all right, universe, I'm picking up what you're putting down. And if I realized it in the moment, which I didn't, but now looking back and kind of had this realization today that was a breadcrumb for me, that seeing that Teachers Federal Credit Union and finally having a different thought about the way that my life could go, that right there was a breadcrumb. And the breadcrumb was, there's other things. There's something different out there for you. Stop settling, right? That was the breadcrumb. And I finally picked up one. And then I picked up more as time went on. I started to listen. So no, I never left the bank. I never went to teacher. I don't even think I ever looked it up, to be quite honest with you. Actually, I think I did. But I realized that there was more. And in each of those little breadcrumbs that I picked up, I started feeling less lost and more of a woman on a mission. When I started to really listen to myself is when, and take action, not just listen and be like, oh, that's nice, right? But start to listen and start to take the action on it. So that was after having the altercation with my boss. That was me. And if you don't know this story, it's a bunch of different things. I've told it a million times. I'm sure you're going to hear it again. But I had an altercation with my boss. And in that moment, I asked myself, how the hell did I get here? And that's really when I started to make changes in my life that led me to Spirit and Soul. And that was one breadcrumb that I picked up. And then I started to say, okay, what am I good at, right? So I'm good at cooking. I'm good at writing. Okay, food blog. I don't know anything about building a website, but I will learn, because you know what else I'm good at? Learning, right? Like always. So I started to roll with that. I started to look at what I was good at, because those things are natural abilities for you. It was natural ability for me to cook. It was a natural ability for me to write and to learn. And I picked up those things and I said, all right, let's go. And I learned. I sucked. You know, it was not a natural ability for me. Taking pictures. That was not a natural ability. If you ever see some of my first pictures of food, you're going to be like, you decided to do a food blog? Yes, I did. Because I embraced, not being good at things until I was. And in the end, I was taking photos for restaurants on Long Island, and I worked with Driscoll's, and I worked with Cento, and I worked with many different brands, Sunkissed, right? I worked with many different brands to bring, food photography and recipes to them. But I sucked in the beginning. You know what though? I listened, and I didn't feel as lost. However, while I didn't feel lost, I also knew that that wasn't the end game for me. I remember my dad saying, "What are you going to do with this? Like, what is this? Is this going to be a thing?" I said, "Yeah, some people make it a thing, but I know that this is a stepping stone to something else. And what that is, I don't know yet, but I'm willing to find out." And in those words, "I'm willing to find out," my soul was okay with that because it's a journey. And I will tell you that I definitely felt less lost along the way. And it was because I was following whatever my soul was telling me. Go this way, do that, do this. And yeah, I ended up stopped food blogging when I really started leaning more into spirit and soul. So I stopped that, and I was so grateful for it. Like, there was not even a thought in my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm done with that chapter of my life. And I loved it. I loved every minute of being a food blogger. But that wasn't what I was meant to do. It was meant to be a stop on the journey so I can learn a lot of things. And I did. So as we start to make those choices to follow, you start to settle in. But we have to be that willing participant in the journey. Not I will leave my job. I will change my life. I will stop doing things that don't make me feel good. I will, right? And you fill in the blank to what these things are. When we say I will, it builds a wall. I remember Michael Beckwith says that all the time. I will builds walls. And when he first said it, I was like, what does that mean? But the thing is that I will is so strong that usually you only see one way of doing something. And there are so many ways of doing things. And when you say, I am willing to do what it takes to get here. I am willing to try something new. Now it's more flowy. Now it's saying I'm a willing participant in it, and I would love this, but I'm also willing to be led. That I don't know what's best. You do, universe, and I will follow those breadcrumbs. And when you start to do that, that feeling of I am lost begins to go away. So I know that you're sitting right now asking yourself, or asking me, well, how? How do I start listening to myself? And the way that you start listening to yourself is through meditation. Like, that's it. You start listening to yourself through meditation. You start listening to yourself through journaling. And when I say journaling, I mean not from the mind, not like, universe, this is what I did today, right? But universe, please guide me. And then you open yourself up. Erica has an incredible automatic writing. It's a free class, automatic writing. I think it was free. On the Spirit and Soul app, or on the replay. You can search for that, look for it. It was such a great class, and it teaches you how to open yourself up and receive messages as you're writing. And I'm going to say that I don't think that it's enough. I do believe that everybody needs to sit in meditation, and I'm going to say it, for at least 10 minutes a day. At least that's a bare minimum. Now, yes, we have on our app, we have 3-minute meditations, we have 5-minute meditations, and sometimes that's all you're going to have time for. And understand that what you're getting there is you're getting centered. So like it's not a loss if that's all that you have. But if you feel lost on your journey, you have to devote a little bit more time to your meditation. You have to devote a little bit more time to your manifesting. What do you want in this moment? Start getting clear about those things. Where do you feel guided? So start to listen more through meditation, and then add on journaling, and then add on walks in maybe at an arboretum or in nature, maybe go down to the beach, add those things on. But don't forget that the simple act of, because when you meditate, you're getting in touch with your soul. So if your soul needs to guide the way, but you're like not making time to hear it, how are you going to listen? Right? There's only so many 1111s that you can get that's going to say, this is the right way. You really have to start tuning in. So, and this is my belief. And, I'm going to be that meditation pusher. I am, because it will change your life. And it will make you feel less lost because you'll be listening. You'll be more in tune with yourself, with your true self, not your egoic self, your true self. And that's what you need to start not feeling lost on your journey in any area of your life. So today we are looking at Bringers of the Dawn. I'm still making my way through this book. However, I'm making my way through this book, but I'm going back to one of the beginning pages, and that is page 8. And I love this so much. I had to come back to it. I feel like I might have done this in the first Soul Sunday, but I want to highlight again. So page 8 says, by working with you, so remember, this is coming from the Pleiadians. This is Bringers of the Dawn, Teachings from the Pleiadians by Barbara Marciniak. So if you don't have it, we have them at Spirit and Soul. By working with you, it is our intention to offer you a reminder of who you are, so that, so that you can find the greatest source for your own inspiration. If we could assign a career to each of you or give you a way of being, we would ask each of you to become an inspiration. If we could, when you are able to live in this capacity and to be truly an inspiration to all who encounter you, you will be living your light. And that is quite profound. Remember that we are here for our reasons and that you are here for your reasons, and that we are all here to evolve together and create a new vibrational frequency. We wish to break belief paradigms that separate individuals as they evolve. So this to me is like the crux of understanding yourself as a soul and what you came here to do. When you are living your light, as they say, it is quite profound. It's profound because you are doing exactly what you came here to do. And let me tell you something. When you're doing what you came here to do, you are in soul flow. Life is easy. Life is easier in soul flow. It doesn't mean that you don't have challenges, but the things that you want, they come a hell of a lot easier to you. They do, because the universe, you're in tune with the universe, and the universe is speaking, and you're listening, and you're a willing participant in that journey. And that right there is the way to get into soul flow. It starts to bring more into your field. So how can you be more of an inspiration? And when you are an inspiration to people, to other people around you, whether that's speaking it, whether that's just living your life, I am going to tell you something. Just living, not trying to convince anybody of your way is the right way, which is what we do a lot of times. Not like you should be doing it this way. You should be doing it that way. But just living your life, because when you are listening to your soul and you're doing what you're meant to be doing, and you're feeling really good in your physical body, in your emotional body, your mental, all of the things start to come together for you in certain areas of your life, and maybe in all areas of your life, you become so light. You become a light for other people in your life to want to change, or, sorry, but you're also going to become a trigger for them. Okay? For the people that see you living your life and they never made a stand for their own, you're going to be a trigger for people. And you have to be okay with that. When you start to change your life, you're going to be a trigger. And you have to recognize it and not take it personally, right? That was a big lesson that I needed to learn, a big one. I needed to learn that I could trigger people and I had to be okay with being triggery and hope that those people would one day see it as a light and start to listen a little bit more, or have the light be the thing that starts to change their own life, whether through me or someone else. And I've seen it. I have seen it many, many times where the people, it was triggery, and then all of a sudden they're reading a book that I mentioned. And I'm like, okay, this is a good start, right? So how can you be more light? How can you start to live and pick up those little breadcrumbs this week and start to live into your light? How can you be a little bit more of an inspiration to the people around you about doing things that feel good? Maybe it's a self-care thing, right? Maybe it's, you got up early and meditated and you started your morning ritual. And then I want you to talk about it. I want you to be like, this felt really good to me today. Not like everybody should be doing this, and right, but just saying, this is what I did. And it felt amazing. I've never felt better, right? Because once you start a routine, a ritual with it, it feels so good. So start to do these little things. Start to see how other people respond around you to your light, to you living that like a little bit more of a better life because it feels really good for you. So start to see what happens this week as you start to make those shifts. And let me know, please. I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me at Hey, I'm Tiffany Marie on Instagram, or at Spirit and Soul Studio. Either one works. And let me know how you started picking up breadcrumbs this week. Did you start to tune in a little bit more to your soul? If you don't have the Spirit and Soul Intention app, this is all meditations. This is all ritualized living. There's moon rituals and so many things to help and support you as you're living a more intentional life and starting to live into soul. Okay? All right, I hope that you enjoyed this Soul Sunday with me. And again, I apologize for it, number one, coming out late and sticking with the scrappiness here. And I will see you next week. Have a great week.